All right, in this explainer, we're diving into a really critical idea about AI. Turns out, the biggest things holding AI back aren't the algorithms or the data, they're us. Let's get into why the real challenge of implementing AI is all about leadership and people.
I mean, this quote really just gets straight to the point, doesn't it? And it's not saying leaders are intentionally messing things up. The crazy part is, the very skills, the instincts that made them successful for years are now actually becoming a problem in this new age of AI. For decades, being a great leader meant finding the best tool, proving its ROI, and managing the project. Simple. But we're not in that world anymore. This new intelligence age, it's not about just one tool. It's about building a whole new capacity for your entire organization to learn and to anticipate. And those old instincts, they're actually becoming a liability. So this leads us to what you could call the executive paradox. With all this money, all this hype being poured into AI, why do so many of these projects just fall flat? So your first thought is probably, okay, so the tech isn't ready yet, right? Maybe the AI models just aren't good enough, or the tools don't work like they say they do. But here's the kicker. The failure is almost never about the technology itself. The models work, the platforms are incredibly powerful. The real problem is buried much, much deeper inside our companies. The issue is something called the human architecture problem. Think about it. Our companies were designed, built from the ground up, around one single constraint. That real intelligence, memory, and judgment could only come from a human brain. Now we're trying to plug AI into a system that was never, ever designed for it. And this image just nails it, doesn't it? We're installing these incredibly sophisticated intelligent systems, but we're putting them in the hands of a workforce that hasn't been taught how to work with them. This isn't a tech crisis, it's a training and a literacy crisis. Okay, so let's see how this actually plays out in the real world. If you look at the high stakes, high pressure culture of the auto industry, these human challenges become crystal clear. In this environment, AI doesn't just meet a little bit of resistance. No, it actively clashes with these really deep cultural norms that have defined how people work, how they compete, and how they build their careers for generations. Just try to put yourself in their shoes. If you're on a sales team and your paycheck depends on commission, AI can feel a lot less like a helpful sidekick and a lot more like a surveillance system, right? A digital boss just watching your every move, threatening your income. Then there's the challenge to what we call tribal knowledge. For a lot of people, their value, their very identity at work, is tied up in their years of hard-won experience. So when an AI comes along and suggests a different way, it doesn't just feel like data. It feels like a personal attack on their expertise, on their mentor, on their whole legacy. And on top of all that, this is landing differently with every generation. Boomers are worried about losing visibility. Gen X fears losing their authority. Millennials are scared of becoming less strategic. And Gen Z worries about things becoming too superficial. It's this incredibly complex human landscape out there. But this is the point where a lot of leaders will push back and say, hold on, our AI pilots are working great. The dashboards are all green. And this, right here, is where we find a really dangerous blind spot. And this slide really reveals the trap we're in. We're celebrating success by looking at the wrong scoreboard. We're all focused on the metrics on the left, these outdated digital age metrics like ROI on one tool. Meanwhile, we're completely ignoring the metrics on the right, the ones that actually matter in the intelligence age, like the quality of how humans and AI are actually collaborating. So what happens is you get this powerful illusion of progress. It feels like you're winning, it feels like you're succeeding, when in reality, you're accidentally building a more fragmented, more inefficient company that's slowly getting buried under the weight of its own intelligence. Okay, so if that's the mess we're in, how do we get out of it? The answer isn't buying another piece of software. It requires a completely new playbook for leadership. The job of a leader is no longer just about picking the right tech from a catalog. It's about designing the entire foundation, both human and technical, where intelligence can actually grow. The question has to shift from what tools should we buy to what kind of organization do we want to become? And what that means is, one, you have to champion AI literacy for everyone. Two, you've got to design new ways of working where people and AI actually make each other better. Three, you have to use the transparency of AI to build trust, not fear. And maybe most important of all, you have to start seeing your own role not as a manager, but as an architect. And let's just be honest with ourselves. This is emotionally really difficult. It's asking successful leaders, people at the top of their game, to step back into the unknown, to admit what they don't know, and to feel like a rookie again. That's a huge ask.
So, in the end, it really all boils down to the question on this slide. What's your legacy going to be? Are you going to be remembered as someone who was really efficient at managing tools, or as a pioneer who led their organization into a new age of intelligence? The choice isn't really about technology, it's about what kind of leader you're going to be.